So this is a short introduction to the world of granny squares. For the Cath Kidston Granny Square cushion, I'm going to have a go at the start of one of the squares. It would seem my camera only will record 15 minutes of video in one go, so we might get the first 2 rounds done if I can not jabber too much. What I'm going to do is read through the instructions, exactly as it's written, and we'll see how we get on. To me it wasn't obvious when I went through it, and I'm not an expert at crochet, but I have been doing it for a few years, and I had some issues with it, and it seems I'm not alone, so I thought I would try and be helpful and talk people through it. So here we go. It says, using a 4mm hook, which is the one they've provided you with, and A, which is the red yarn, make 4 chain. It doesn't say you need to make a slip knot first, but yeah, you need to make a slip knot first, like that. Pop it onto the hook and pull, not too tight because you're going to need to pull wool through it in a minute. Then set your yarn up. How you want to run it through your fingers is entirely up to you. Different people do it differently. I have mine like that. So it says make 4 chain, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Join chain into a ring by working a slip stitch into the first chain made. Nothing too terrible there. So you just poke the hook through, grab the yarn with it, pull it back, trying not to rip into the yarn. I did find the yarn they provided was rather splitty. Trying not to sound too much of a yarn snob, because I don't like to think of myself as one, but I wasn't that in love with it, to be honest. Anyway, so you pull it back through and then you've made a circle. Don't pull it too tight because you're going to need to shove your hook in the middle of that in a minute. So I wouldn't pull it too tight. Okay, now it says round 1. Using A, do a 3 chain. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 trebles into the ring. So yarn over, find the middle of that ring, put your hook through, wrap the yarn over on the other side, pull it back through, then yarn over again through the first 2. That leaves you with 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and back through, just leaving the 1. I think of a treble crochet as treble because you're yarning over 3 times, if that makes any sense or is in any way helpful. So we'll do that again. So that's the first yarn over, then pull it through, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through. So far so good. So what we have is then a 3 chain followed by 2 trebles, and that's kind of the basic unit of a granny square. It's either going to be that or it's going to be 3 trebles, but the first one you do will have to have the chain. The other ones going round, they're going to be bunches of 3 trebles. So the next instruction is to do a 2 chain. 1, 2, and then 3 trebles, 2 chain into ring. So we're going to do 3 trebles, 1, 2, as you go round, the hole in the middle will get bigger and it will become a little easier. So that's 3. And then it says 2 chain into ring. Into ring I think is a little bit misleading because you're just doing 2 chains. Then it says repeat from star twice more, the star being at the start of the 3 trebles. So here we go. 1, 2, excuse me if I speed up a little bit, but this camera is going to run out in a minute and refuse to record anymore. 3, and then 2 chain. Okay, 1. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been covering over the tail going around so it's tucked away. Not compulsory, doesn't matter if you don't, but it does make it just that little bit neater. You're probably going to want to take a needle anyway and weave it in a bit more after you finish just to make it really secure. But it's kind of force of habit for me to just tuck it in as I go. Oh, my camera's moving around a little bit. So, and 2 chain. So it said to repeat that twice more, so that's 3 times altogether, and with your first clump that you've done, that's 4 little clumps, and the chains in between give you the corners. After the last 2 chain, join with a slip stitch to the third of the first 3 chain. So that's that one, that's the 3 chain. Find the top, stick the hook through. And, oh, if I can grab it. Pull it through. There we go. And you need to just trim the end. And I just secure it by pulling it through like that and pulling it tight. So there you have the first wheel, if you like, of your granny square. Let's get the red out of the way, done with that. So then it says using B, join on yarn with a slip stitch by inserting hook through any 3 chain space. I was slightly confused about that, but there are no 3 chain spaces, they're 2 chain spaces, so I interpret it as the 3 chain is a mistake. I'm curious, it probably would work if you did 3 chains, but you'd have very big gaps. Yeah, so ignore the 3. I'm pretty sure it should be a 2. Just to confuse you. It seems a little harsh. We'll start here. Okay, so draw the yarn through. And then I usually just do, so it says inserting hook into any 3 chain space, draw a loop through to the front, 3 chains, so I've done 1 just to secure it, 2, 3, 2 trebles into the same space as the slip stitch was worked. Yeah, so 2 trebles again. I'm just going to go sort of get over that end yarn. I don't know how well you can see that on the video, but it's just tucking it in a little bit. This one's so short that I will probably end up covering the whole thing before I get all the way around, which is good because weaving in ends is frankly really tedious. Okay, this is what I've found. This wool is, well, it's not really wool, this yarn is rather splitty, as you can sort of see there. Okay, so 2 trebles into the same space the slip stitch was worked, then do a 1 chain. That's going to give you your gap between the sort of blocks. And sorry, I'm reading these instructions. Then 3 trebles, 3 chains, 3 trebles into the next 3 chain space. Like I say, I think they mean the 2 chain space just here at the corner. So we'll make a start on that. Again, I'm tucking in the ends as I go. Catching that red one under there as well. 1, 2, 3. So there's my 3 trebles, 3 chains, 1, 2. So they really are 3 chains on this round, and you know the other one I think is a bit of a mistake. And then 1, 2, 3. So you can see it's formed a nice little corner there between the blocks of 3 trebles. So what does it say next? Repeat from the star twice more. So the star is just before the 1 chain. So there's our 1 chain, and then we'll do some more trebles up here. I'm going to try and speed up a little bit because I'm conscious that, like I say, my camera seems to have this peculiarity with videos, which I don't normally use it for, I have to confess. It is normally reserved for taking pictures of my small child doing cute and or silly things. Here we go. So yeah, I'm conscious I have 3 minutes 50 seconds left to finish this, and I've also got to hold it where you can see it. Expert cinematographer, am I not? Okay. So that was 1 repeat, a chain, then 3 trebles, then 3 chains, then 3 trebles. You can see we've now got another corner nicely there. So 1 more repeat. Oh, my wool's getting a little tangled. I don't know how well you'll be able to see the construction of these different stitches. There are some excellent videos on YouTube showing really good close-ups of treble crochets, double crochets, half double crochets, whatever kind of stitch you may be required to do. One thing I would say is be very careful that if you're doing a different pattern, check whether it's an American or an British pattern, because a double crochet in America does not mean the same thing as a double crochet in England. Okay. Yeah, see, this yarn is just splitting all over the place. Probably because I'm rushing a bit. When I made my cushion, it was mainly done when my daughter was napping, so there was a lot of rushing, really. Okay, so we have now repeated it twice more. Do a 1 chain. It then says join with a slip stitch to the 3rd of the first 3 chain. I'm not convinced by that because you haven't got enough stitches in your corner. So because you've got a 3 and a 3 in all your other corners, 6 basically, and this one still only has, well, it has 2 trebles and a chain. So I'm just gonna do an extra 3 trebles because that's what logically makes sense, unless I've misunderstood something. 2, 3, let's keep the red to the back, and then we're going to need to do our 3 chain to make the corner. And then we can go back to the instructions, which say join with a slip stitch to 3rd of first 3 chains, so the same as we did the last round, so that's the top there. And then pull that back through there. And then it says break off yarn B and fasten off, so we'll just do the same thing, cut the yarn and pull it back through there. Perfectly timed. So there is the first, I'll hold that a little bit closer, first 2 rounds. Not looking too bad at all. It looks a little bit messy on the back, but you're going to need to get a needle at the end and sort of weave these in. Okay.